number 2. We're live in L.A. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Thanks to all the people that came out last night. Herd Burger, Del Amo Mall, Torrance, California. That thing is rolling. Got to get Joy Taylor out there. Joy, I know it's a long drive. Sam Batesh came out there. Producer Sam came out there.
He lives very far.
He brought his beautiful girlfriend last night and a bunch of food, and it was just a lot of fun. Goulet, you like to eat? Would be okay if you
thanks for the invite. Appreciate that.
Last night was
I don't like burgers or beers or anything. It's good.
Are you going to have like a special...
Let's do that. Let's have a special herd night for staff.
That's a good idea.
Uncle Colin buys drinks and food for everybody.
I like that even more now.
Okay. All right.
I'll Uber there, so no worries. You're going to have a special herd beer?
I have 2 of them. Yeah.
What's the
IPA,
flavor palette?
Herd IPA is very good. Had a couple of those last night. Got to test stuff. Listen,
it's very important.
Got to test stuff, right? Burgers and beer all night. All right, we call it the herd hierarchy. Top 10 teams in the NFL. I'm obsessed over this. I spend a lot of time on this, and I look at every number and every piece of data, and we end up with what we think are the top 10 teams in the NFL this morning, and here we go.
Herd hierarchy.
Time is now. Let's go.
The top 10 NFL teams according to Colin. Number 10.
Kansas City. What do they do well? I love Andy Reid's play designing, and I love Patrick Mahomes' talent. But they're 26th in total defense. They're 30th in rush defense. And I'm sorry. If you can't get New England off the field or Baltimore off the field or Indianapolis off the field, you're not winning any playoff games. You cannot be this bad running the football. Last night they got 4 picks. And the Chargers were going for the tie with 18 seconds left in Mexico City. They simply don't do enough well. They get to the quarterback pretty well, but, when your offense won't be on the field because you can't stop the Ravens' running game, you're 10th in the NFL.
Number 9.
I think the Raiders right now do more well than the Kansas City Chiefs. The Raiders have allowed the second fewest sacks. Their offensive line's better. The Raiders are tied for 4th in giveaways with only 10. They don't turn it over. They're healthier than Kansas City. They run the football better than Kansas City. They've won 5 of their last 7, and they've gone up against teams like Chicago and pushed them around. This is a real Raiders team. I was totally wrong on it. Mike Mayock's done an unbelievable job between Richie Incognito, Trent Brown in the offensive line, between Josh Jacobs at running back, Hunter Renfrow, the wide receiver, the tight end from LSU, Darren Waller, the other tight end from Baltimore. They can play power football. They can be clever. They're incredibly efficient. 9th in offensive rushing, yards per game. So top 10, they'll pound it, eat the clock. Raiders 9.
Number 8.
Cowboys at 8, I drop them. Listen, we got a problem here defensively. Jeff Driscoll gave you problems. They're 21st in takeaways. They haven't had a takeaway in 2 weeks. Again, Jeff Driscoll, Kirk Cousins in prime time. Takeaways tell me you're making the other quarterback uncomfortable. When you start seeing big turnovers, that's like last night, you see a lot of turnovers. It's like, oh, there's something going on with the quarterback. He is rushed. Dallas doesn't do that anymore. Last couple of weeks, they're giving up 28 a game to what I consider, Kirk Cousins and Jeff Driscoll. Kirk Cousins is obviously better. It's not about Dak. Dak's one of the things I love about this team. Left tackle, Amari Cooper, Dak, love that. Love that. I like their weapons a lot. Randall Cobb, Michael Gallup. They actually have one of the top 4 or 5 receiving cores in the NFL. But this defense is a problem, especially when you're in a division with Garoppolo and Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and a lot of clever offenses.
Number 7.
Slightly ahead of them, the Minnesota Vikings. They've won 6 of their last 7. But, they're so weird. They fall behind 20-0 at home to Denver. They only rushed for 37 yards. And, by the way, if you go to Kirk Cousins against teams 500 or above since 2018, 4-8. So, this is one of these, I don't trust them still. Love their talent, love their roster. Certainly make the argument. They're like a cold weather Chargers. The roster, you can't deny the roster. They got 2 of everything. They got good players everywhere. But I think, this week's a classic example. Escaping Denver at home after falling behind 20-0.
Number 6.
Green Bay, like them a lot. Getting better offensively. Aaron has a running game, but I don't think their defense, again, intimidates anybody. They don't give the ball away, so you're getting all the upside of Aaron. I get explosiveness. I like the receivers, and Aaron never gives you free picks. Aaron's got a passer rating of 102 this year, 65% completion percentage. But again, I do believe teams will be able to impose their will. I think a Seattle could run on them. We already saw Philadelphia do that. So I like Green Bay. Don't love them. I like them.
Number 5.
San Francisco hosts Green Bay this weekend and is favored. Now, their defense has allowed 25-plus points in 3 straight games. Some of that is Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray are really good. Let's not overreact to their defense. I still think it's great. But, you get these off-script quarterbacks who can run around a little bit like Kyler and Russell, and you can see they're a little bit vulnerable. They need George Kittle back. He's Gronk. He is Gronk to the Patriots. But New England's offense is not the same without Gronk. Kittle's been hurt. He's a man-child blocking. He's dynamic offensively. He can go vertical. So they're just not the same team. But they're still very, very good. Their rushing game, they're not running the football as well as they were early in the year, so I put them at 5.
Number 4.
I put Seattle 1 spot ahead of them because I just trust Russell Wilson to make a play down the stretch, maybe more than anybody not named Tom Brady. This year, Russell Wilson's completing 69% of his throws. He's added Josh Gordon. He's first in the NFL 2-minute drill. The only losses this year by Seattle, by the way, is the Ravens and the Saints. So, they're in good company. And, by the way, Jadeveon Clowney and Josh Gordon in those losses are not a factor. Now those guys are real players. So I think Seattle added 2 high-end players to already a good team to make them very good. I would put them. And by the way, they've also won a couple of overtime games. So we know situationally, Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, games get tight in the playoffs. They're good.
Number 3.
New England. Again, we can keep barking on them, and I would be the first to admit they have no deep threat. But my question is, if they had a deep threat in January in New England, what would it matter in Foxborough? It's 9 degrees and raining sideways. They didn't have a great deep threat last year. I think they're missing an offensive piece. Can N'Keal Harry be that piece? They're getting Isaiah Wynn back at left tackle. They win this weekend. They're favored by a touchdown. They're going to be 10-1, guaranteeing they win the division, get a bye, and host a playoff game. Win it, they're in the AFC Championship. They still have the best coach in football, the best secondary, an A defense, A experience, A coordinators. Still like them.
Number 2.
Saints. They've turned the ball over once in 6 games. Outside of that crappy performance a couple weeks ago against Atlanta, they've kind of figured out the pass run thing. They're a power running team with a Hall of Fame quarterback, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, very good offensive line. They got a nice pass rush. They've done a good job to draft that defensive front last few years. You just got to take that Atlanta game out. It doesn't exist. Somebody lost the tape, bury it in the backyard. It's a very good football team. They have not had a turnover in the last 6 games. They're 3rd in rush defense, 3rd down, 6th in total offense. Not a lot not to like outside of one lousy game against the Falcons.
Number 1.
Baltimore, they're hot, healthy, and humming. They're unique. They're hard to practice for. You'd probably need to see them like New England a second time off a bye. They've won 6 straight. They remind me of the Carolina Cam team that got to the Super Bowl. There's a certain Mike Tyson quality where they're just coming out. They feel great about themselves. They're a matchup problem. They know they're a matchup problem. Lamar, 7 straight games of rushing over 60 yards and 70% completion percentage. So he's feeling great about himself. They're mostly healthy. They've upgraded at corner. And they clobbered Seattle. They clobbered New England. They clobbered the Texans. I don't even think there's a debate at this. I mean, you got an agenda if you don't think they're the number 1 team in the NFL. It was like early in the season, first 6 weeks, Niners looked like the best team. Now it's Baltimore. So we've been split. Half the season, San Francisco. Last half of the season, Baltimore. Number 1. That is our herd hierarchy. By the way, so I saw Belichick. Speaking of Dallas plays New England Sunday in New England. It'll get just a monster number. Belichick was talking about the Cowboys this morning. So he's just talking about what a great organization. It's typical Belichick. They're the best team ever. It's unbelievable. Jerry Jones. Jerry was talking about how Belichick got fired, in Cleveland. And Belichick ran into Jerry Jones at a ski resort. And And here's Jerry talking about that this morning. Belichick had just been fired. Apparently they met, Aspen